It's like all 8 nights of Hanukkah just rolled into one. I mean, that's how long it took the ACC to reveal their schedule. But as Mark pulls it up, I think, and I'm sure some of the commentators are pointing out very accurately, that the ACC may have finally done something right. Because if you take a look right there, let's take a look, obviously, at the first 4 weeks of the season. And this is going to be the toughest part of the season if you look at the schedule as a whole for Florida State. You start off with the game that we obviously knew, Florida State opening the season on September 3rd in Orlando against LSU. That game, it'll be nationally televised, most likely 2 teams ranked in the top 10 to just start off the season. Then you got the short week against a Southern Miss team who did go to a bowl game last season. This was a team that I think Florida State will handle that game, but it's still, Southern Miss is going to be a good team coming into Tallahassee for the home opener. And then we called it last week. Florida State will open ACC play at Boston College on September 16th. And then right now, what looks to be arguably the one of the 2 toughest games of the season, probably right up there with LSU, is that September 23rd game at Clemson. The ACC finally got this right. The ACC finally realized these 2 teams, Florida State and Clemson, are the 2 best teams right now. The 2 best teams entering the offseason, probably the 2 teams that will likely be ranked in the top 10 to start off the preseason from the conference. If the ACC wants any hope at all of having 2 teams in the playoff, which I think is a huge stretch at this point, I don't think there's any chance that the ACC will have 2 teams in the playoff to begin with. But if they want even a shot, even a glimmer of hope of that, the loser of this game needs the whole season to bounce back. And you look, I mean, just look at Florida State after that point. You know, the bye week comes up. I'm not a big fan of having the bye week after just 4 weeks, but I get it. I understand it. But if you look at the rest of the season after the Clemson game, arguably the team that had the best record last season that Florida State will play is Duke at home. Florida State will play them at home and homecoming on October 21st. And then I would say the team with the best roster, the most athletic roster, and we've talked about how they underachieved last season, is probably Miami. Miami has the most athletic roster of anyone left of the remaining 8 opponents. Both those teams, Duke and Miami, Florida State will be playing at home. Obviously, they host Miami at home on November 11th. So it's a very favorable schedule over the second 2/3 of the season. If you look at what Florida State will face, you know, with that being said, the first 4 games is what's going to show. If Florida State can get through that first 4 games, either unbeaten or with 1 loss, it's going to be a very good season for Florida State football. Florida State cannot afford 2 losses in their first 4 games.